Hello and welcome to Math Tutorials. Here we will be looking at concepts on fractions. We actually want to investigate the logic behind fractions and why we do the things we do when we particularly adding or subtracting fractions. Okay, so here the idea is to pick something most of us will be familiar with, and that is using money. So quickly, let's see what we can do here. We call something the same denominations when you are working with money. Either you are calling it cents, dollars, or whatever, based on the currency you use in your part of the world. So here I'm working with dollars. Okay, so let me consider a couple of things that might be of some importance to us. Okay. So we want to consider assuming we are giving something like $2 and we are asked to add $3. Most of us would do this and then say that we got $5. Okay, I have to write it this way, so probably that would explain the concept better. So we got $5 here, and if you got $5, good job. So the next thing we want to do is that let's now assume. Let me assume that wherever I see the dollar sign, wherever we see the dollar sign, let's assume that that dollar sign represents some variable. So represents some variable. Okay? Some unknown, something we don't know. And then we want to investigate that. So with a little background on algebra, this probably is clear. If that is the case, then what we can say here is that then another way to look at the first expression is that we can rewrite it as 2 multiplying the dollar sign plus 3 multiplying the dollar sign. And if I do that, what I'm saying is that I'm rewriting this as 5 multiplying the dollar sign. Okay? Now, if this is true in algebra, we would have, it's okay to simplify this as what? 5 times the variable by just removing this multiplication sign, okay, or the symbol in there, and that gives us something like this. So when you put this together, you see that the concept actually is not different from where we started from. We went back in there. Okay, so what I want to do here now is to quickly pick something we can use to bring the idea of common denominations out, because we will need this exactly when we get into problems relating adding or subtracting fractions. Okay, so what I want to do here is, what if what we assume to be the denomination, the dollar sign, is not the same? The reason we've been able to move from here and through this and arrive at the same understanding is that it could be that we are using the same denominations here. So let's investigate a case where the denominations are not the same, and let's see if the logic is still the same. Okay, so assuming I have $1, and I want to add 20 cents to it. Where do I go from there? What I'm getting here is that I can really write this with respect to one denomination, because here we have 2 denominations. So what do you do? So one thing that is logic enough to do is that I can take this 20 cents and rewrite it to have the same denomination as $1. And if I do that, I'm getting what? 0.20 with a dollar sign here. So I can rewrite this part as giving $1, and I want to add what? $0.20 to it. And if you take your calculator You see that to give you what? $1.20. Okay, so this is what we got in this case. All right, another way to also look at the same thing is to say, okay, what about if I change this to cent? So if you take $1 and you want to change it to cent, what do you get? We have 100 cents. And using the 100 cents, I can say that, okay, let me add what? 20 cents to it. And what would that give me? That will give me what? Since this denominations here are the same, I can put them together and I will have what? 120 cents. So the idea of saying $1.20 or $1.20, it depends on how you are looking at these two aspects. In here, we're calling it $1.20, which means that the 20 on it is a cent. But this is the way to write it, $1.20. Here we are saying 120 cents, which is the same as saying $1.20. Okay, so the only reason we've been able to move from the left side to the right side is only because we have the same denominations. So in a case where the denominations are not the same, you are not likely to write anything different, particularly if you are asked to express it with the same denominations or in one denomination. That becomes the challenge. Okay, so what are we saying here? How do we use the same understanding doing fractions? Okay, how do we use this understanding when it comes to fraction? And that is the goal for this video. So let's quickly get into that and see. With respect to fractions, what am I saying? Particularly the simple forms of fractions. Consider, again, here, let me see, consider where we have something like 3 over 4, and we want to add to this 2 over 4. Yeah, I'm just picking this at random, just because we want to establish some understanding. Okay, so let's consider something like this: 2 over 4 plus 3 over 4. And the question is, how do we modify the same logic that we had gone through already to justify what we do when we are adding or subtracting? Okay, so the first thing is that we can write this, we can express this division as multiplication, and that we have covered those bases in previous videos. So if you want to refresh yourself on that, that's good. So the question is, how do I move from here? Okay, I can rewrite this as what? 2 multiplying 1 over 4. And then I have to what? Add 3 multiplying 1 over 4. So when I take 2 over 4, I can express it as 2 multiplying 1 over 4. And if I take 3 over 4, I can express it as 3 multiplying 1 over 4. And then the operation is addition, and that does not change. So I'm just repeating the addition sign there. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's continue with this. So let me make a note here. Expressed as product terms. So if I express the terms as products, this is what we are getting. Okay, so what is the next thing to do? The next intelligent thing to do is that, okay, let's compare this with the one we had before, where actually the dollar sign was what? Multiplying. So using that same understanding, it means that I can rewrite this part, okay, as the dollar sign. And if I do that, then the understanding I'm establishing here is that this is the same as me writing 2 multiplying the dollar, okay, plus 3 multiplying the same dollar sign, because I'm using the dollar sign here. Why? Because they are the same, so I can choose any variable. And what that understanding gives me is that I can write this as what? 5 multiplying the same thing. Well, we earlier on established that something like this, we can what? Rewrite it as just 5 multiplying what? The dollar sign, without us going into all that. So the idea is that if I go back and then do what we call back substitute, what am I getting? So in the back substitution, I'm saying that wherever I see this, I should replace it with what? 1 over 4. And that means I have to rewrite this as what? 5 multiplying what? 1 over 4. Okay? We can do that here. That's fine. We have plenty of room to do that. Now, the meaning of this is that back to where we actually modify the 2 1 over 4 to get 2 times 1 over 4, then we can also say that, okay, then the 5 actually is multiplying the top, because if 2 multiplies the top, then I get 2. If 3 multiplies the top, then I get 3 back at the top. So yes, one way to understand this is that 5 is multiplying what? The 1 up here. Or another way to think of it is that if I put this as, if I give the 5 here denomination of 1, then the tops will multiply, which is like saying what? 5 multiply 1, and then 1 multiply 4, and that would give you nothing but what? 5 over 4. Yes, and that makes sense. If we continue the detailed aspect of problems relating to addition or subtraction of fractions, one thing you will notice is that when the denominations are the same and the operations is adding or subtracting, the best thing we want to do is that what? Pick one of the denominations, and what we do is to focus on the top, and then what? Add them or subtract them, and whatever comes out is what we move on with. Okay, so this, yes, makes sense. And the logic that we've actually visited above also illustrates what we're doing. Okay, so I hope this kind of reasoning helps you when we get back into some of the complex states. So keep studying, and if you like this video, I guess we have done our part, and I want you to use this on your homeworks and do very, very well in class. Thank you for watching.